The hypocrite Nancy Pelosi is now denouncing rioters as support for BLM craters and President Trump surges in the polls. In this video, we're going to take a look at the latest pandering coming from our shameless speaker, how the polls are indeed cratering for BLM, and how President Trump is at the same time surging, which all is obviously making crazy Nancy very, very nervous. Greetings to everyone, patriots from all across the globe. Dr. Steve with you. Great to be with you as always. If this is your first time here at this channel, you're looking for some daily encouragement and optimism, as well as some analysis to help you make sense of these crazy times, and you have found your oasis in this channel. We analyze current events, analyze some super awesome conservative trends so we can all live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It'd be an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel, where each and every day we together celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Before we get into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's the makers of this awesome motion detector ultra bright solar night light. You can install it anywhere because it's wireless, and you never need to worry about buying batteries because it's solar powered with a high powered battery storage pack. It's equipped with motion detectors, and it becomes an entertainment light for the patio and the barbecue with the simple click of a button. And as for those motion detectors, well, they offer very effective deterrents against burglars. And best of all, you know, you just don't have to spend a fortune for any of it. If you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 52% off as well as free shipping. So what could possibly be better? Do not wait. Click on that link below or visit nightsolarlight.com and bring its light to the dark spaces in your home today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi took to the floor the other day and publicly denounced the rioting and looting that has engulfed many of the nation's cities over the last several months, stating that, quote, "We support peaceful demonstrations. We participate in them. They are part of the essence of our democracy. That does not include looting, starting fires, or rioting. They should be prosecuted. That is lawlessness." My, oh my, it only took her 4 months. I mean, we have to remember up to now, Nancy Pelosi's refused to denounce the horrific violence that's spread across the nation's cities. Back in July, when she was asked what she thought about the leftist mob's propensity for ripping down statues, she simply claimed she didn't care. She didn't give a rip about the statue. She actually went into this bizarre screed about her grandmother's earrings that she had and that she lost them and that she doesn't have them anymore. And she doesn't care about them, and she doesn't care about losing statues either. I mean, it was an odd moment, to say the least, but up until this point, Pelosi has simply refused to condemn these horrific acts of violence. Even my namesake, Jonathan Turley, who's a self-professed liberal, has observed that Nancy Pelosi has simply refused to condemn the atrocities committed in the name of left-wing social justice. But now, 4 months later, Pelosi, for some reason, is publicly coming out and condemning the violence. She's openly calling for the prosecution of rioters and looters. What gives? What changed? Well, I think the Gateway pundit said it best. The internal polls for the Democrats must be really bad. In order for pandering Pelosi to make such a dramatic 180 turn like this, after her blunt silence and her absolute refusal to denounce the rioting and looting that overwhelms so many of our nation's cities, for her to suddenly turn around when the rioting, for the most part, by the way, is ended, for only now to turn around and say, yeah, of course rioters and looters should be prosecuted. We've always believed that. The internal polls for the Democrats must be horrific. And as a result, Pelosi is under enormous pressure to publicly denounce the rioters and separate herself and the Democrats from them, which is a far cry from what they've been doing up until this point, to say the least. We have to remember that the Democrats, up until this point, the Democrats have been so radical when it comes to their support for BLM and the mass riots that have been sparked by left-wing agitators and the like, that you actually had city councils like the one in Seattle threaten to impeach their mayor. She sided with the police over against the rioters. I frankly think every single one of those city council members should be charged with federal crimes for that. I mean, It's simply beyond the pay. It's a complete abdication of their law enforcement responsibilities and a radical assault on federalism, on our system of jurisdictions and jurisdictional hierarchies. So what has changed to force Democrats to begin distancing themselves from these riots and all of this mayhem? Well, what do you know? Support for BLM has dropped by 12 points since the summer. Look at that. What do you know? Pew Research has detailed a drop from 67% support to 55% support. So still way too high in my opinion. The drop in support can be seen mainly among whites, Hispanics, and Republicans. In fact, the drop was most dramatic among whites, which we predicted would be the case. It fell from 60% support to 45%. Only 16% of Republicans support BLM. And this comports well with a Politico report that found that favorability for BLM has dropped 9 points in the last few weeks. And the website Civics, which tracks opinion trends over the course of several weeks and months, has also found that opposition against BLM has surged by 10 points over the last several weeks to 39% opposing it. Support has dropped from a high 53% to the current 48%. Overall support for BLM is now under 50%, and it's been steadily dropping. And as these other studies, of course, corroborate. And we pointed out that when it comes to sentiments towards BLM among whites, you can clearly see that a plurality of whites oppose Black Lives Matter, 47%, which has steadily been going up. And if you break it down to white males, we find that 54% oppose BLM. In fact, nearly 70% of white males either oppose BLM or don't have an opinion. In other words, they don't give a rip about BLM. And in Wisconsin, where the Kenosha riots have ravaged businesses and properties and neighborhoods over the last several weeks, support for BLM has dropped 10 points from 59% to now 49%. Unfavorable sentiments have risen a comparable 10% from 27% to 37%. Now, this is only half the picture, you see. On the one side of the equation, we see support for BLM cratering. On the other side, we of course see support for President Trump proportionately surging. But first, we can't thank you enough for all of you who have signed up for our brand new Turley Talks podcast. We are now one of the top 20 podcasts in the nation for political commentary. And with your support, we're fast making our way to number one. And so if you own a business and are looking to advertise directly to a huge conservative audience, we have a number of exclusive launch packages for you that will put your business front and center before a huge audience of dedicated and loyal conservatives. All you got to do is click on that link below in the pinned comment section, sign up to get more information on how your business can flourish as a sponsor of our Turley Talks podcast. It'll be an honor and privilege to work together with you to advance conservative businesses throughout our nation. All right, guys, so let's look. I mean, this is pretty amazing stuff. Let's look at President Trump's surging polls, which are the complete opposite of BLM's sagging polls. And again, we talked about the Rasmussen polls that have been coming out this week, which really are nothing short of stunning. So as of today, Friday, Trump's approval rating hit 53%, which is the second time this week it hit such a high. Now, this is on the heels of the latest Rasmussen head-to-head polling, which was released just this last Wednesday, a couple of days ago, where President Trump has now officially this week taken the lead over Joe Biden. President Trump now leads Biden 47% to 46%. And again, we can see this trend that track in the mirror opposites of BLM trends. If we go back a couple of months ago to July, at the end of July, Rasmussen had Biden leading Trump by 8 points. If we go back 4 weeks ago, Biden was leading Trump by 4 points. If we go back 2 weeks ago, Biden was leading Trump by 2 points. 8, 4, 2, right? You see the trend. So as BLM support is going down, Trump support is proportionately going up. And now, as of this week, Trump has officially taken the lead over Biden. And it's not just Rasmussen. According to the Democracy Institute's polling of 1,500 likely voters, Trump leads Biden nationally by 3 points, 48 to 45%. And he has a commanding 7-point lead in the so-called battleground states, the swing states. So I think we could see why Pelosi is suddenly coming out and denouncing the riots, which, by the way, have largely subsided. The problem isn't riots anymore. We just talked about this in our last video. You want to check it out. The problem isn't riots. The problem is the crime surge that's overwhelming cities in a post-riot society. In city after city, where their Democrat-dominated city councils voted either to defund the police or, in the case of Minneapolis, to abolish the police department or significantly cut the police budget, like in LA and New York, in city after city, the crime rate has skyrocketed, which means that the problem isn't riots. The problem is the Democrats. They're the problem. Any kind of disaster relief coming to the cities has to begin with relieving them of the Democrats, since the Democrats are the ultimate disaster. They completely misplayed their hand with these riots, thinking that all the societal unrest was going to bring President Trump down. Is it not ironic that Nancy Pelosi's embarrassing pandering is proving that in the end, all these riots and societal unrest in their wake is guaranteeing President Trump a second term? Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how the insane Minneapolis officials who voted to abolish the police are now crying for the police. It's absolutely pathetic and hilarious at the same time. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.